Starting the webinar now, and we'll wait for just a moment until I get the rest of this set up.
Welcome for those of you joining us. We will be getting started in just a few minutes. We're getting our Facebook Live feed connected, so settle in, and we're really glad you're here today. You'll have an opportunity to ask Dave some questions as we get going, and just chat in any questions you might have, and we'll ask them on your behalf. So again, welcome. We'll get started in just a couple minutes.
Dave, on Facebook, they'll also have the opportunity to ask questions, and I will be adding those questions, monitoring that feed and adding those questions into our chat so Shannon can ask, or Burke.
All right.
And so, okay. So with that, I am going to go ahead and I'm hitting the go live button, and it'll be just a moment or two pause.
Hollywood style. We need a little thing. Take one. we only get one take.
All right. Well, welcome everyone to this month's version of the Red Talks with Red Wing Ignite. Red Wing Ignite is an innovation center in Red Wing supporting entrepreneurs in the Red Wing area and across southeastern Minnesota. We also work with area advanced manufacturing in our Learn and Earn program, which SCS Elevator is involved in. And today we welcome Dave Muelken. He's the president of SCS as we hear about his entrepreneurial journey. And so with that, I am going to turn it over to Shannon Harris, who is going to help lead our discussion today.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for joining us. We're excited to have you as part of this month's Red Talk series. I'm joined today by my peer, Burke Murphy, who's the workforce lead at Red Wing Ignite, and she and I will be chatting with Dave in just a minute or so. Just a tiny bit of history about the Red Talks. We kicked this series off last winter, actually, as part of the Big Turn Music Festival. So February of 2020. We had two panel groups here in the building in person like the old days, and it was really successful. It was a start to something that we thought had real potential, and we wanted to take that momentum and turn it into something on a regular basis. So we took a couple months off, and the team talked about what we wanted to accomplish, and we came up with this series and the logo, and Red Talk standing for Reinvention, Entrepreneurship, and Determination. And so we launched last May with Adam Gettings, and we've had a whole series of really interesting and inspiring entrepreneurs and business owners that have some relationship either to Red Wing or to Red Wing Ignite. And we look forward to having finished a full year of this soon. And so we're just really glad you're here, and you'll be able to go back to either our YouTube channel or our website and see all those past recordings. There's some really inspirational stories about entrepreneurs that are right here in Red Wing or in the vicinity. So today we're super excited to have Dave with us from SCS Elevator. He has an incredible story to tell. He has been part of businesses that you will recognize, Northwest Airlines being the first, and then also Heat and Glow, Schwann's, and the Schwann's division turning over to automated equipment. And now he's found himself in the elevator business. So we're excited, Dave. Welcome, and tell us a little bit about how you got to SCS.
Well, if you go all the way back, I'm a Prior Lake kid, which, you know, when we talk about the rivalry, when we talk about coaching and sports and whatnot, I actually knew a lot of folks here from sports, being Prior Lake in Red Wing, but went to Bemidji State, followed my passion in sports and played basketball there. I chose Bemidji State because of the outdoor setting, not because I wanted to play basketball at a hockey school, by all means, but so graduated from Bemidji State, knew that I wanted to coach someday, but my first job when I got out was at Northwest Airlines, which some of us remember, and some of there are probably people that are, what are they? But they are now Delta. Great job, not a career. And started thinking about a career and had an opportunity at Heat and Glow down in Lake City. Shelly and I had just married while I was working at Northwest, and had some decisions to make as far as relocating. So we did, and really enjoyed the manufacturing setting. And I could see the coaching side of it. It's building your team, putting your employees, people in a position to be successful. So it was really a lot of fun. Had an opportunity to go up to Schwann's, or come up here to Schwann's, as they owned a business here in Red Wing as an operations manager. So I got to take the next step and kind of start building that team that I knew I wanted to do. And a few years later, Schwann's had said that they wanted to focus on their core product of ice cream and food and so on. So was able to acquire the company from Schwann's with some partners here in Red Wing. Ran that for 10 years and had a great time doing it. Coached through those years, was able to coach the Red Wing girls basketball, as you know. I had a ton of fun with that, and but had an opportunity to come to SCS as the business was sold and acquired, and they were looking for somebody to take this over, and right place, right time, and that was in 2015. So 6 years ago, actually 6 years ago next month. So time flies, but that's kind of the short story of how I got to SCS.
Yeah. So I know only a tiny little bit about SCS. I knew Donna from many, many years ago, and there's probably a range of awareness of people that will listen to this either live or in the future. So tell us a little bit about the history. How in the world did an elevator parts or panel, we will know better why by the end of this,
Yes,
how did they get to Red Wing?
Yeah, very interesting. So Rob Lee Cook was a blind gentleman, and the elevator braille was not code at the time. It really wasn't prevalent back in the early 70s. And Mr. Cook took it upon himself and kind of had a mission. And he met Donna through that, and she supported him. And I believe it was 83, but the early 80s, Rob Lee passed away, and there the company sat. And so Donna, being an entrepreneur in her own right, stepped in and really took over and created a great company for herself. And she moved the company to Red Wing in 2005, and that's when I met Donna. So we became friends early on when she moved here, as we had acquired Automated in 2005, the same year she moved SCS here. So we're kind of on that same path. We became friends, and which is what brought me here 10 years later. But so yeah, she moved the company here in 2005. Otis and ThyssenKrupp were customers then, so they were starting to grow with the majors. Today it's Kone, Schindler, Otis, ThyssenKrupp, Innovation, Schumacher. That's our core base. We have grown the company to, if you get on an elevator in North America, there's probably a 70% chance, whether it's that button, the braille, or the signage, that came right here from Red Wing. So we continue to grow. Donna left a legacy and left us in great hands, as you know, well, I think most people here in Red Wing know. So we're just trying to not run it in the ditch and keep it going. But we're in a growth market. We're doing very well, and you know, we're 80 employees now here in Red Wing, 2 shifts. We're in heavy acquisition mode as we're trying to grow. So going very well.
And
Do you know
Dave,
why
didn't,
oh, sorry, Bert, go ahead.
sorry, Dave, didn't you say that there were 700,000 elevators in the United States?
Well, yeah, there are 700,000 elevators, and I have a few fun facts, but there are just over 700,000. And interestingly enough, 325 million people ride in an elevator every day.
Wow.
So the impact that we have there, you know, being in all the elevators, roughly 70% North America. We have Kone, Finland, Otis, France, so we are worldwide as well. And just to know where some of our parts go, and then the pride side of it, knowing that the American with Disability Acts is really what we're doing in the vertical transportation industry. So pretty cool. And then one little fun fact, I didn't know this until I started looking. The elevator music was first started, everybody talks about elevator music. Well, it was started in the 1920s to calm people down because they were afraid to ride on elevators. They didn't have all the safety precautions that we do today. So I stumbled upon that, which I thought was interesting.
That's great.
You will win the prize for being the first person to do a Red Talk that had fun facts. You're the
Oh,
first person for
all right.
sure that has had
Can't
fun
wait to
facts.
see what the prize is.
And you're the first person I think I've ever heard say vertical transportation industry. So that's a thing. Now we all know it. We can all use that in a sentence.
All right.
That's fascinating. Do you know
So
why Donna picked Red Wing? Do you have any idea?
What's that?
Do you know why Donna picked Red Wing? What about coming here appealed to her?
I believe the build, they're in a growth mode. Things were going well. They needed more space. Don't quote me, but I believe there was jobs opportunity through the Job Z, the tax credit. This space was available, and it really fit when you look at what we do here: the plastic injection mold, the die cast, metal stamp. There's a warehouse, loading docks. The building really fit, I believe, for that expansion, and I think there was incentive to come here at the time. I do know that they looked at a facility in South Dakota at the time, and obviously there's business tax reasons why people go to South Dakota. I understand, but very fortunate that she chose Red Wing, and just a great story.
Yeah, for sure. Sorry, I think Stacy or Bert, you were saying something when I was asking.
Stacy.
Oh, no, I was just going to interject. I vote that fun facts become a standing piece of the Red Talks from here on
Yes,
out.
yes.
All
I
right.
don't know if anybody can beat the elevator music comment.
All right.
Right, right.
Totally not. No, and we should put Dave on the spot and ask him if he were to pick elevator music, what his first choice would be in his own elevator. But I don't
Well,
know.
you knew it would be either Toby Keith or Garth Brooks or George Strait. It would be mine, but
There
that's
you go.
beside
Way
the
to pull
point.
that out. Yeah. Well, I think it's so impressive. I mean, there's so much about the story that's impressive, but to know that she made that decision, and I think it just reinforces why there's a lot of factors that bring a business,
Mhm.
keep a business, and have the ability to grow a business. And so obviously all of those have to be in place. And I know Burke's going to talk to you certainly about workforce, but tell us about the kinds of people slash positions that make up your team. What kind of employees do you need to have? Yeah, just tell us a little bit about your workforce inside that building.
Well, I'm sure there aren't any kids that I coached watching because they'll be rolling their eyes, but it'll start with attitude and effort. But that's really it. It's building a culture. And I think that's what we've done here is build a culture, a family first culture that people want to work in. That's very important to us. I think that's what we've done. Our core values are exemplary of that, I think. We sell it to prospective employees, but I think we live it. But from we've got design engineers, mechanical engineers, from our sales team, our VP of sales. We have a sales gentleman located in Boston, just because there's more elevators on the East Coast in a small area than there are the rest of the United States combined. So we felt we needed a presence there. But from accounting and then all different assembly type positions, we have press operators, CNC machinists where we make our own molds. We're turning metal, making our own buttons. We brought that in-house. We do a hot chamber zinc die cast. We have paint booths. We're painting our own parts, sonic weld. So it's really a wide array of manufacturing positions, and I think great positions. And Shannon, you touched on, I think we're really fortunate in this area. When you look at, I'm looking out my window at Red Wing Shoe and down the street at Rydell, and there's ADM and all these great manufacturing companies. We're very fortunate. These are great jobs and careers, and we just continue through like the Manufacturers Association to try and get that message out is come work in Red Wing or the surrounding communities that have these great manufacturing jobs as well.
I'm sure Burke has a series of follow-up questions. One of I wanted to ask real quick is, are you having any difficulty filling positions? Do you tend to have vacancies, or as you have had growth, are you finding it, pretty easy to fill those positions regionally?
No, it was interesting at one of the last manufacturers meetings that we could have prior to COVID, but when we were getting into it, I was talking to Bob Riggleman over at Rydell and a couple other folks, and the question came up, are you hiring? And we all said no. we're trying to. We have open positions, but we're not hiring. I thought that was interesting that you look around and there's employment and openings and, now hiring signs all over. It is difficult to hire right now. There's good jobs available. I think throughout the community, they're hard to fill. We've had some success, and I think really the focus is taking care of the people that we have, because it is so difficult to replace them. And as we get into these next 5, 6, 8 years with baby boomers leaving these really good jobs, who's going to step in? And it's a concern within our industry.
Mhm.
What percentage of the people that work there would you say like live here, right here, the real immediate area? And
Yeah,
how
I
many
would say,
vehicles are driving in?
yep, I would say 70%, Cannon Falls, Goodhue, Ellsworth, Hastings, that community we're driving from. I would say ballpark 70% live in Red Wing.
Mhm.
That's awesome. Awesome.
Well, this is a chance for me to chime in. We first met, Dave, in 2018 when you came to the table at Red Wing Ignite, along with many of the Red Wing area manufacturers, to talk about how we might work together to submit a youth skills training grant to the Department of Labor and Industry. And what I remember so clearly and appreciated so much about you was that you gave voice to the fact that this was a long-term investment in developing the talent pipeline, and that it was not a quick fix, and that the employers gathered at the table needed to be in it for the long haul, and not to just try and hire someone in the immediate. And you have been so true to that. As of today, you will have hosted 7 of our Learn and Earn students, 2 this spring and 5 in the last 2 years. And they've all had a great experience. And you've also hosted industry tours every year, which has made a big impression on our students. One thing that your company and our other employer partners have done is made a huge impression on our young people here about the opportunities that exist right here. And they've taken pride in finding out that we have high-ranking global companies that are making things that matter. And that's been a huge awakening for them. I think that our students are benefiting enormously from the kinds of contribution and investment that SCS Elevator is making in their future. And I'm so grateful for that.
Well, thank you. And we think it's important too, Burke. And I know it's been a big talk that, going to college is wonderful and we support it and encourage, but it's not always for everyone. And if you don't, you can start right away. If you're not sure what you want to do, why go to college and incur 40, 50, 80, $100,000 in debt to not be sure what you want to do when you can start a really good career. And I know ourselves and many of the businesses around us, they support additional training, on-the-job training, but also if you want to go get certificates and so on and so forth, that we'll pay for that. I think we get that back 10 times over. I did that. Schwann's did that with me. Once I really thought this is what I want to do, they sent me to St. Thomas. And at the time, that course was $10,000 to get my Six Sigma black belt. But they invested in that. And I look at that and I say, I want to do that for somebody else because I thought it was wonderful. So it's a great program. Love having the kids. They come in and eyes wide open, and it's pretty neat. And you mentioned all the things that are done here in Red Wing. It's pretty incredible. And there's one thing, if I can show and tell, that we show all the kids. So this piece here, I don't know if you can see it.
Yep, yeah, we can.
Yeah, so this is in a museum in Albany, New York. This was in the World Trade Center, this piece here.
Oh my
And
gosh.
this is the replacement piece. So when 9/11 happened tragically, the pride that our folks take here, we got those orders, and when they rebuilt, we provided all the braille and the signage for the World Trade Centers. But then to have them send that back to us and say thank you, that's on our, in our conference room here that we share with everybody that, what we do with the American Disabilities Act and some of the places we're in, children's hospitals, we color code all our braille and signage. So each floor is a different color for children's hospitals. And people see that when it goes out the door. And there's really a tremendous amount of pride when you see the World Trade Center and the children's hospitals that we get to be a part of. So it's pretty neat. And I know many companies in the community have stories like that to tell. It's really neat.
It's actually just the anniversary of the ADA. There was just a program on PBS about it.
Yep.
It's pretty exciting.
Yeah, and that's a huge part, just understanding those codes. It's a huge part of our business.
Yeah, well, it's a well-kept secret because who would know,
Yeah.
know? Now, I wanted to ask you, at the St. James Hotel, they have plastic panels over the buttons. Are those your new plastic?
So yeah, we got
Antiseptic.
involved. Yeah, so we have an antimicrobial product. It's called Touch Point. I don't know if you can see, but we have these in, there's probably 7 different elevator manufacturers, Brown University, a lot of different people. And that was, we partnered with Railize. They're out on the East Coast. They do a lot with moving walkways. And they said that, gosh, with you guys being in the elevator industry and in the buttons and whatnot, so like this piece here is cut out the same size as one of our buttons just to go over the button. So you don't even know it's there, but it is antimicrobial. Sometimes they put the little sign there so that you know it is safe, but there's more of that out there, I think, than people realize, which is wonderful with what's going on in the world today.
Yes, adversity creating such innovation. It's really great.
Yeah.
And it's really important for us to get that kind of information out because I think that, especially for high school students, they think that these entrepreneurial, innovative things happened elsewhere, not right here.
Very true. Very true. Yeah.
I see
We have-
you have some questions, Shannon.
Yeah, one was about the challenges you face in hiring. So clearly, you answered that pretty
Good job.
well. I don't know if you have found anything in particular to be helpful with that, but I know that you and your peers in the region certainly are struggling with trying to find the right fit. I think they're talking about what you just shared, that whatever. the word
Yep,
was.
antimicrobial.
Yes, that's it. Was that in the works prior to COVID, or was it a pivot really because of COVID?
Yeah, so it existed prior to COVID and it was in the moving walkways. It wasn't a product that we had. So COVID brought it about for us as a result of COVID, I guess, the antimicrobial for the elevator industry. It was part of escalators and moving walkways, but not part of elevators. So our portion of it was a result or a reaction to COVID. You'd like to think, honestly, why didn't we get out in front of it? There were germs long before COVID existed, but we didn't. And but I think we reacted and responded very quick, as did many other people, to at least provide a solution, an alternative with regards to antimicrobial.
So related to that, we've asked obviously all of our speakers, since the bulk of this series has happened during COVID, what was the impact on your business? Did you have to, shut down at all? What has changed in the past year for you specifically?
Yep, so a lot has changed. We did not have to shut down. We were deemed essential for 2 reasons, for the vertical transportation, which you mentioned earlier, but also the Americans with Disabilities Act, that we had to keep, elevators safe, elevators up and running, keep them up to code as far as inspections go. But the new building really took a hit in that April, May, June timeframe last year. Nobody was sure. And so new construction was down, but we're about 50% new construction, 50% remodel. And the remodel, because new construction was down, we saw not a significant, but we saw an increase there. So we stayed flat. So we're able to maintain all employees. We haven't laid anyone off. We stayed open. We did a lot here, obviously, to our plan to stay safe and so on and so forth. But we were able to continue working the whole way through. So we were very fortunate. I think our folks here were very appreciative of that, and we took the steps to keep everybody safe here.
Yeah, that's great. That is really wonderful for you guys. What would you say right now is your biggest challenge?
Yeah, a couple things. One is acquiring talent. That is a challenge. The other piece, probably the unknown of, is there going to be another outbreak? Are we going to get shut down? Is it going to run through SCS, or is it going to run through, the COVID? Is it going to come through Red Wing as a community? You have seen some plants where they literally have to shut down for 14 days because it was so bad. That's always a concern, and I think we're all doing everything we can to avoid that. But the industry in general is, as it recovers, we need brick and mortar. We need business. We need buildings to put elevators in. As more people work from home, I don't know how many people need elevators in their homes. So are they going to be coming back? Are they going to build buildings like they did prior to, really up until last year? We saw this big boom about a 5-year window after the last recession of building. And brick and mortar, we see cranes in the air. We're happy because we know they have to have elevators. So that's a big concern.
Mhm.
For sure. I was going to ask about other people. Obviously, there must be other companies. So you have competitors around the planet?
Around the planet is accurate, yeah. So there's a company named Truxus in Ohio that does what we do. That is a competitor that we go head to head with. But then it's really unique. There's a company that does buttons up in Canada, and we do buttons. There's people that do braille here, and then China is probably our largest competitor that we need to keep fending off as far as taking care of North America with your buttons and your braille and your signage. That's probably our biggest competitor.
Mhm.
I know now, I know more about from the gift industry and home decor industry, but it's just taking forever for anyone to get anything. There's a shortage of shipping containers. There's a backup at ports. There's all kinds of factors. Are you having to deal with that? Do you have to factor that in right now, or are your products able to get to your end customer as easily as they did before the pandemic?
No, it's we're actually dealing with, and I don't know how familiar you are with the resin shortage in the world today. Multiple things. So we created a SCS crisis team. We're meeting daily like we did with COVID about a year ago. We're 1 year later now. We're dealing with. So it was just the perfect storm, worse than the 73 oil embargo with regards to resins to make our plastic products. The extreme cold that they saw down south for that 2-week window, they weren't prepared for that. And by that, it means that they broke pipes, it shut buildings down. It literally shut plants down. And then there was a major fire at the largest resin manufacturer in Mexico. And that was during that same time. And now you look at, which rightfully so, as they're running at about 15% capacity right now, resin. So we're down 80 to 85%. So it's been a big challenge in getting parts. And the recovery is starting with medical. They're going to get it first, and by all rights, they should. So it's really a struggle. We've sent out letters to all customers. We've been able to maintain. We haven't missed any orders, haven't had any late shipments. We think we're good for about 6 months now. But they say it's a 6 to 12 month recovery in the resin industry. So we'll keep a very close eye on that.
What is the source? What's the source of resin? Is that a petroleum-based product?
It's petroleum-based, yeah. So from Phillips and Exxon and Sabic, we have received force majeure letters. So for the first time in my manufacturing career, we have sent out force majeure letters to Otis, ThyssenKrupp, the 2 largest elevator companies in the world that we've had to send letters to. We believe we'll be able to maintain. We have found some supplies, and we have suppliers that say it'll definitely be just in time, but they'll be able to keep us afloat. So we do believe we'll be able to continue and meet all our on-time deliveries, but it's something we'll keep a very close eye on.
Well, is that a potential area of innovation with some people, scientists coming up with a replacement for that resin? And I mean, not only do we want to, not offshore the supply chain, but, bring things closer to home, but also see if we can develop green alternatives.
Yeah, and we have, so funny you say the green piece. So when we make parts, we have the runners or the extras that get discarded from the actual part, and we're regrinding that. Our engineers are literally today and going forward, we're mixing dyes in with that because sometimes you need a blue or a red, or it's got to be a clear or a black. Can we, depending on the part, you can't change the integrity of the part or the fire rating, but can we mix dyes in with our regrind? And so we're testing the strength of that so that we're using 100% of our regrind, which would be, if we can do that, that would be a game changer. We would literally be creating no waste then at all.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that would be amazing. You might have your own island if you figure that out, Dave.
All right.
Maybe you already have your island. Maybe, I don't know. And I hope there's an elevator on it.
That's fine.
So obviously your footprint, what you do there is very specific, and obviously you won't share anything that you can't, that would be proprietary or anything, but are there other ways to take what is happening inside that building and apply it outside of just elevators?
Yeah, so a big growth there in the elevator industry, I guess, there's a ton of moats built around what we do. So we're pretty protected from startup costs, from understanding the codes, to having our library of molds is thousands, to start over and make all those molds and then get them approved with those suppliers. But outside of the industry, where we've really grown is in signs. So we've been acquiring equipment, and so some COVID signs. This is a big part of what we do now, and our ownership is actively seeking acquisitions, and our first focus is around the sign industry. So share that with you. So
Wow.
to answer your question, we are seeing a growth in the signs, and they can be for building schools, et cetera. It doesn't just have to be an elevator.
Yeah, and do you have both the equipment and the expertise inside your own team to do that work, or did you have to pivot somehow with either people or resources?
So the equipment we did not have, we've acquired equipment. So we went to some signage expos. Prior to COVID, we were in Vegas at the sign expo, literally, and bought equipment.
Woohoo!
So we have the equipment in-house now, and we're vertically integrating, and we just have some really talented people here, honestly, that are figuring it out. And now we're sublimating, we're screening, we're doing a lot of different things. Yeah.
And I would assume that it gives you a competitive advantage that you have the ADA codes down, because it's really, today we need to be inclusive of everyone. And so your signage is going to help with that, right?
It will help 100%, and understanding the codes as they are ever changing, you have to stay on top of that. So yeah, Bert, that is it. We think a competitive advantage for us.
That's great.
So we all get in the elevator and we see the panel. We're like, oh, panel, buttons, whatever.
Yeah.
No, I'm sure most people don't think about what goes into that. So I know behind you, you have a couple of different panels. If you want to just grab one of those and maybe just talk us through a little bit about what it is that you have in your hand. I mean, what happens? Where does the magic happen that, all the things that go into making that a real pushable button panel?
Yeah, well, the first part of the magic is really with the architect, because we have, and I know Burke, you'll understand this, I'm sure, we have over 400,000 SKUs. So you can get your elevator buttons and braille and signage. We have over 400,000 different ways you can get this, different
That's
colors.
a big catalog.
What's that?
That's a big catalog.
It is a big catalog, actually, yeah. But there are things, you're in case of fire, your capacity, your ratings, all that is required by code. So we have to incorporate all that. You can see just the alarm that has everything you see here has braille on it. You have to have your phone sign, your help. You have to have a star, which this is your next, most people I think know, but if you are ever lost on an elevator, hit star because that takes you to the main floor. Star means main in the elevator world.
I didn't know that.
There you go. So now
I
you
only knew L for lobby.
Yeah, right.
So that's always ground level, main floor is the star. So it could be a 3 or a 4 or a negative, but it's always look for the star and that'll take you where you need to be. But you can get these in die cast, in plastic injection mold, in stamped and screened. Again, tens of thousands of different ways you can just literally get each of these parts.
And it's probably
Wow.
not a fair question, but once someone says, okay, we've picked all of our SKUs out, this is the panel that we need. I know it'd be different if they need 500 or 5 of them, but the production time, give us some sense on what goes, is it a week you can make a panel? It takes 3 months to make a panel?
Yeah, so we make the parts that go in the panel. But that's actually a great question when you start talking lead times, because that's huge in our industry. If it's a plated part, it's going to be upwards of 3 weeks. If it's a plastic injection mold sonic weld, we literally can do that in a day. We probably do 50% custom orders and 50% our stock. And by that, we're getting orders literally every day. An architect designed the embassy suites and they want it to look different than anything else in the world. So they come up with new fonts, new sizes, new styles. So we help them through that, but within that, they all have to fit code. Your braille has to be a certain distance from the letter. The letters have to be a certain distance from the edges. So you don't just get to make a part. When you look at code and you have to meet that, because then everything that we send out then it goes through an inspection prior to that building opening. And we've had companies that we've had to help out. They say, hey, we got an inspection on Friday and we forgot this or this. And they shared with us, it was $10,000 a day fine and every day that it's not up to code. So we scramble and get parts on an airplane and get it literally to that building so they can stick it on a wall.
Wow. I'm curious, have you provided these buttons for elevators in Mexico or other parts of Latin America?
Yeah, so we look at when the industry that really we play in that we feel we dominate is North America. So it includes Canada and Mexico. Those are big players for us. We're smaller in Finland, in France, in the European industry. We do have a presence there, but not like North America. So yeah, Canada and Mexico are huge markets for us.
Well, I thought of it because one of the confusing things about living and working in Mexico was that their ground floor is not one, it's planta baja. And so I would always get confused at the elevator. And so you have to come up with all these new SKUs to address
Yes.
the difference.
And we
Look
have
for the star. Look for the star, Bert.
look for the star. So
Look
we
for the
have
stuff.
Braille. Yeah, it's interesting. And I can't lie to you, I can't read it. We have Braille in multiple languages. We have French and Arabic and all these different things so we have to meet those codes and speak those languages in Braille.
Oh my gosh, that's so interesting.
You might have this tucked away as an upcoming fun fact, but I'm going to go ahead and ask it just in case you don't. Do you know how many floors you've done for one building?
You know what? I don't. The Sears Tower, which isn't the Sears Tower anymore in Chicago, we did. And obviously the World Trade Centers. It's upwards of 90. It's upwards of 90 floors because when I look at the parts we send out, it's floors 1 through 4, 1 through 6 is pretty common. Those are your typical hotels and office complexes. But when you're getting into the bigger buildings, when you see 60s and 70s going out in a kit for an elevator. Yeah.
Wow. So are you predominantly serving metropolitan areas then?
Yeah. I think if you look at where there's, like I said, there's more elevators in New York than they say the rest of the US combined.
Really?
You look at how many elevators are in Wyoming or Montana. I know you got a few cities there, but it's really, really predominant on the East Coast. And then you have your pocket around Chicago, Atlanta, Denver to an extent, Seattle, and then a big pocket in LA. So we have people into those markets pretty regularly dealing with Otis or TK or whoever may be dominating that market.
What about Dubai, which seems to be competing with the world to produce the largest
They are.
monstrosities on
They're
Earth?
the largest, the fastest. I mean, they have elevators that are, are going 40, 50 miles an hour. I mean, it's crazy the speed they're moving people. And then it's not just vertical. They'll take them vertical and then they'll take them horizontal. So you don't have to walk down the hallway. They'll actually open at say at your hotel room or your office. So there
Wow.
is vertical and horizontal elevator transportation within buildings now.
Wow.
Yeah.
No, thank you, at 40 miles an hour in an elevator. No,
Yeah.
thank you.
Well, they say you could ride an elevator to the moon. It would take you at elevator typical speed. It would take you 20 years to get there.
I hope you get the panel for that, because I think that would be one you wouldn't forget. I hope you
That's
get the
true.
panel. I was gonna ask you kind of a longer term vision, short and long, 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, whatever you want to answer. Like, do you have a vision or a dream or something that your company shares about where you'd like to see STS?
Yeah, we do. So we have actually, you hit it pretty good. When we look at our strategic plan, it goes out to 10 years. And the 10-year, it's such a wish list, but how do you know you're going in the right direction if you don't set that out there? And our vision is revolving around acquisition. The core focus of the ownership here going back to 2015 was focus on the elevator industry and get everything we can, be the dominant player in what we do, have all 4 majors, which we do now. And then once we do that, we look for acquisitions. So we've attained that goal, and now we're in acquisition goal. And our goal is for SCS to be the parent company. We'd love to bring that acquisition to Red Wing. That would be our goal, depending on the size of the acquisition, and just we're here, our team is here to create more jobs here in Red Wing would be wonderful.
Mhm. Mhm.
Why would a company that makes elevators not want you to be part of them?
Why would a company that makes elevators?
Why wouldn't they want you inside their company, the people that are actually making elevators? Why wouldn't they
So,
want
yeah,
to
so if
control it?
you look at the majors that are, Otis in South Carolina or ThyssenKrupp down in Memphis, they're making the elevators. They own their own steel companies.
Wow.
They own their gears and their motors, really big stuff. If you look at our parts that go in an elevator, I mean, we have $5 and $10 parts. For them to tool up and have 10 or 20,000 tools and do the plastic injection molding, that's really the big scheme of the elevator. We're a pretty small player. We're very important.
Yeah.
But I think revenue dollar wise, they look at it as it would be certainly not in their core competency to do, probably not in their best interest. It's easier for them to source that out. They know that we have to know the code. They spec it out as code compliant, so that's on us. When they're doing a $1 million elevator and they buy $5,000 worth of parts from us, which really is the jewelry for the elevator, I think it would be a distraction to them. And that's my guess, but it's interesting, that question, because none of them do it in-house. The majors, Otis, Thyssen, Schindler, Schumacher, Kone, they all outsource that.
Wow. Have you or members of your team gotten to go to is there ever a need for you to be on site? Have you ever been there when something is open or installed? One,
No.
it's kind of exciting, but is there ever a need for that?
Probably not a need, and we really haven't. We've been in facilities that we've done, but more locally. The buttons in the St. James, instead of shipping them, we just took them there when they remodeled, which was kind of fun.
Free shipping, you had a free shipping sale.
That's right. We've been in projects down in Rochester just so we could go see them. But no, we've never been involved in the opening of a new building like that. It would be kind of neat.
When you step in an elevator, do you know if it's your panel? Is it branded somehow?
Yeah, about 90% you can tell. Some things just because of code, and it's got to be white character, black background. You can, but about 90%. And it's funny, when I started here, I would get, when people knew we were doing, people would go on vacation, be in all these crazy, I was getting text pictures of elevators for the first year I worked here. It's kind of, the newness is kind of wore off, but people would send pictures of elevators like, oh, is this yours? Is this yours? Look at this elevator. So
Oh,
yeah,
that's
that was kind of
funny.
interesting.
Because
That's
you got
funny.
some fun friends, Dave. That's what that is.
That's very true.
So
very
I wanted to ask, what does the SCS stand for?
Yeah, so it stands for Stencil Cutting Supply, and that dates back to when the company was originated in the 70s and 80s. They did that, the stencil
Wow.
cutting. Yeah, so we kept the SCS and then just added the elevator products when the new ownership came on in 2015 to tie it. They wanted to be very focused on the industry and not get distracted.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it's
Fantastic.
fascinating. It's fascinating to me. I was glad that you talked just a little bit about, the college path isn't for everything, but I think your personal journey says a lot. You acquired something along that path from the airlines to Heat and Glow to Schwann's to where you are now. And my guess is that each thing built on something. So for a high school kid that may listen to this, or parents is hounding them, or someone that's trying to contemplate what to do after they graduate, I think your messaging is just so important that they may come and take a job with you. It may not be where they stay, but there's such a great experience. It's a foundation that gets built. I don't know that if you want to speak to that anymore,
Well,
but I think that messaging just gets missed oftentimes for the young people.
I was given an opportunity a couple of years ago to go back to Bemidji and speak to a graduating business class. And I thought, what am I going to tell these kids? And there's people a lot smarter than me that were on this panel. But what I told them was, the first thing was listen, and listen to hear, not to respond. I think everybody feels as though they have to talk. So just listen. You're going to hear everything you need to know and pay attention. The next one is surround yourself with good people. And I think, like here at SCS and at Automated, we've really been able to do that. Don't be afraid to hire people smarter than you, to work with people smarter than you. Just surround yourself with really good people if you want to be successful. Be humble. Arrogance is not something, we tell people, if you're going to work at SCS, you got to check your ego at the door. It wouldn't work. And then don't get outworked. And I say that with, again, the kids that I coached was attitude and effort. It's what you control. There are many things that, nobody wanted a couple inches of snow yesterday, but we had no control over it. So, you know what, go make a snowman. I don't know, have some fun, but because it is what it is. So
Right.
your attitude, your effort is really important. So that's really what we focus on here. And, we just, the team we have here is phenomenal. And they're just, they're really smart. They're really good at what they do. My job is put them in the right position and then just get out of the way and let them do their job. Yeah.
What you speak about are pretty incredible leadership traits that you don't find in a lot of executive management positions. And so anyone that has the opportunity to work with you is very fortunate, as are all those kids that played on your teams. And I think that the wisdom is just, I don't know, I think that part of the younger generation thinks that we still don't have any idea what we're talking about.
It's true.
But the fact that you have given this number of students that have come through our program this opportunity and exposure, like Burke said, is just so, so appreciated. And I think our community is so fortunate to have leaders like you that, one, are willing to take those young adults in and show them around and get them some exposure. And the climate and culture that you're building there, just contributes to Red Wing and to the region. So thank you for the work that you're doing. And we're just so appreciative that you're here. And I'm hoping that more and more people become aware of the really significant work you're doing. And it's something to be so proud of. I mean, there's so many amazing companies, but I hope that you and your team are proud every day of what they contribute, not only to the globe, but to the community. And so I just want to thank you for your time today and let you know how much we appreciate the work that you're doing on behalf of our programming and Red Wing. And Burke, I don't know if there's anything else you'd want to add or ask?
Well, I certainly agree with everything you've just said, and I believe that gratitude is the great elixir, and the fact that you really are a role model for our young people is so important. And everything that you've shared in our recent industry tour with you, that I thought was magnanimous and wonderful. And then the fact that you're taking 2 more of our Red Wing High students coming up in April is really just a testament to your commitment to walking the talk, really, Dave. Thank you.
Yeah, and thank you guys. I think what you guys are doing is pretty neat. I look back through, I'll be honest, through the previous Red Talks you did, and very impressed, and I think it's neat. I learned a lot in watching them. So, and had you not given me this opportunity, I may not have done that. And so I encourage everybody to go back and look at what these other folks have done. It's pretty neat. So, Stacy, Shannon, Burke, I really appreciate the opportunity, and hopefully we get through this pandemic soon, because like I've said, I know, Burke, to you, our doors are always open. We give tours, we show people around. We love to do that. So people are welcome here.
Well,
Thank you.
for your time today. For those that are watching or listening, we're excited next month to have Terry Cook be part of the series with Norwex, and she's got a pretty amazing story to share as well. So we look forward to her. And then we're hoping to have a panel of past presenters in May as we celebrate the 1-year anniversary of our Red Talk. So again, thank you to Dave and to all of you who are watching live and who will watch in the future. We sure appreciate it. Stacy, you want to wrap us up?
I just thank you all. Dave, thank you so much. What a fascinating story. And I learned a lot about elevators and signage and all kinds of wonderful things, and just the value that you bring to the community. And thank you again for everything that you're doing for our students, and your continued partnership and support of the Learn and Earn program. And we're just very, very grateful. So thank you. And thank you everybody for joining us today.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye. Bye, Dave. Thank you.
Bye,
Bye,
Dave.
We'll see you. Thanks.
Okay, and our live stream is stopped, and I'm